Good evening, SportsZonians. How's everybody doing out there tonight? I am Mike Aglialoro. I am your host. This is SportsZone. Coming to you live like we do each and every week here via the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Radio Network. We got a good show for you tonight. We'll be joined by Dave Hastings and Erich Treslar in a matter of moments here, and we got a lot to talk about tonight. Of course, we are finishing our 2018 NFL season preview, and we will be looking at a division that is near and dear to all three of our hearts, and that is the NFC East. So we're going to be looking at that. We're gonna give our predictions on where the teams will finish. And we also got all the biggest moves from the last week. It's been a crazy week in the NFL. It always is when you get to cut down day and everything that happened before. I'd say we're probably going to talk about the biggest 5 or 6 moves that happened over the last week. Of course, when we were on air last week, we were talking about Odell Beckham Jr. signing his big extension. Oh, Apple phone does not automatically. Sorry. That's okay, David. Still love you, buddy. Thank you for coming in as always, man. Always appreciate it. So we're going to talk about some of the biggest moves of the last week. And like I started to say, when we were on air last week, we were talking about Odell Beckham Jr.'s contract extension that he got. It was 5 years, over $90 million. And then a couple days later, Aaron Donald, the defensive tackle of the Los Angeles Rams, finally gets his extension. And I want to look up the terms here. 6-year extension worth $135 million. It includes $87 million guaranteed, which became one of the biggest contracts of all time, definitely one of the biggest contracts for defensive players. So you got that. And listen, in my opinion, he's one of the best defensive players in the game right now. So he's definitely worth the extension. We knew it. Is he worth that much? I have no idea. So then not even 2 days later, then the last defensive player who really hadn't signed contract extension had been holding out was Khalil Mack. The Oakland Raiders, whether or not John Gruden was calling the shots or not, I personally believe he is, because you don't give a head coach 10 years, $100 million if you don't expect him to be the guy calling the shots in the franchise. Khalil Mack gets traded to the Chicago Bears. The Bears give up first-round picks in 2019, 2020, and a third-round pick in 2020, and a sixth-round pick in next year's draft to acquire Mack. And the Bears also receive a second-round pick in 2020 and a conditional fifth-round pick in 2020. So Mack joins this rare class of veteran players to be traded for 2 first-round picks coming back. And it's weird because, you know, the Raiders were a team that if all things were all things being equal, if the team stayed healthy, they could definitely make a serious run, and they traded the best defensive player away. Now, there's numbers to prove that when Mack hasn't been on the field, they've been a better defense, but Mack is arguably one of the best defensive players in football right now. And I don't think there's going to be too many people who really argue with the fact that you lose a player like that, your defense is definitely going to take a couple steps back. Is it going to help the Bears out? I have no idea. But that arguably was the biggest move of the week right there. And then you get to cut down day. Some surprising casualties. And let's see what Cousin David says here. John Gruden came back for the paycheck. Oh, he came back from the paycheck. Okay, John Gruden came back for the paycheck, doesn't know what he's doing. No, I think Gruden does know what he's doing, and I think he just wants players on his team he can control. And we can talk about whether or not it's a misguided move or not. I was looking at that salary cap right now, and, well, we're going to get Dave Hastings' opinion on this because we're going to bring in Dave Hastings right now. David, how you doing tonight?
Doing well, Mike. Doing well. How about yourself?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Okay. We're going to talk about this more when Treslar comes on here, but let's get into this. So honestly, like, you sent that last text because I'll let you guys in on a little something. So Erich Treslar sends this meme on our group text that we're a part of, talking about Colin Kaepernick saying Kaepernick now has something in common with Al Bundy. They both couldn't play football, and now they're selling shoes. And I made the comment, did Kaepernick ever throw 4 touchdowns in a game like Al Bundy? And then you come back with the Bundy question, and I honestly did not know what you were asking the question about, but I'm very happy you know who he is.
Well, I didn't get Eric's meme until after you already responded.
Okay.
I don't know why my phone did it that way, but if I saw the meme first, it would have made sense.
Yeah. Okay, all right. That makes all the sense in the world. Okay. So while we wait for Erich to come on, I kind of been recapping the NFL moves of the last week. And, of course, we talked about Aaron Donald. We talked about Khalil Mack. Definitely not in the same category, but you look at some of the other minor moves. The week, if you think about it, the week really started off with Teddy Bridgewater being traded from the New York Jets to the New Orleans Saints. He gets traded with a 6th-round pick next year, and the return is a 3rd-round pick next year. And we'll bring him in so we can get his thoughts here. Erich Treslar is in the room tonight. Erich, how you doing?
I'm good. Feeling good after that hold music.
You love that hold music.
Right? It's just
Any
I don't
music.
know what about it. It's like upbeat elevator music.
So you're all ready to get sweaty tonight then?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. We were talking a little bit about that meme you sent.
It's funny.
It is
funny.
No, it's absolutely funny. But you didn't answer my question. Do we know if Colin Kaepernick threw 4 touchdowns in a game like Al Bundy?
Well, no, Al Bundy ran for 4 touchdowns in a single game.
Is that what it was? Oh,
yeah.
Excuse me. It has been so long since I saw that show. And it turns out I don't know Al Bundy there, Dave.
I wasn't sure if it was run or throw either, but I think it's fair to say that if it was run, back in high school, I think it's fair to say Kaepernick probably did run for 4 touchdowns in a game at some point.
Well, it's funny because I see in the chat room, turns out Cousin David knew that Al Bundy ran for 4 touchdowns too, so he's with you on that, Erich. So, anyway, we're kind of recapping the biggest moves of the week. We talked about Teddy Bridgewater. We talked about Aaron Donald, Khalil Mack. Then you get to cut down day. Paxton Lynch gets released by the Denver Broncos after only 2 seasons. Of course, they gave up the big package to get the 1st-round pick to take him. The Giants, it turns out the Davis Webb era will never begin. And then the Cowboys shock us all, and they cut.
But it could still happen in New York.
It could still happen in New York, but it's not going to happen.
He is on the Jets practice squad as we speak.
Hang on. You are skipping ahead, sir. You are skipping ahead. We have an order here, sir.
We were just talking about Davis Webb. That's the news on him. He left the Giants and went across the street.
Yes, but him signing with the Jets did not come before the Cowboys released Mr. Automatic, Dan Bailey. And I don't know. Let's start there because, Dave, I know you're like me. I mean, the Dennis Bryant thing, I didn't like it, but I kind of got it because you see him always yelling on the sidelines, and I get the idea that maybe you just don't want to deal with the personality. And then Jason Witten retires, and it's like you can't do anything about that because that's kind of out of your hands. Then you release one of the most accurate kickers in the last 20 years, one of your all-time leading point scorers. Why? Dave.
Well, I mean, from the sounds of things and what I've read and seen, it basically seems like it was a combination of a salary cap and the liking of Mayer. I'm not really sure how to pronounce his last name, but, apparently that guy hitting a 57-yarder in the 4th preseason game was kind of the final thing they needed to make that decision and get rid of Bailey. I mean, we also don't know how healthy Bailey really is. I mean, he struggled towards the end of last year with injuries, missing some pretty big key field goals in games against Seattle and, when they were trying to make a playoff run towards the end of the year. And, you really don't know how healthy he is and his burn injury. Now, look, I didn't like it, but I didn't like it more for the idea of how it's done. You know, it wasn't something anybody saw coming. But I don't think the team takes it as hard of a hit as, you know, maybe what some of the guys in the locker room in Oakland might be feeling right now.
Yeah, that's very true. Eric, let's get your thoughts on Dan Bailey. And then I know you were devastated that we never get to see Davis Webb lace up the boots for the New York Giants. Let's hear your thoughts on both, and we'll get to some of the bigger moves.
Are we really talking about a kicker right now?
One of the more
kicker. Like a kicker. Like there's so much going on, and we're spending the time talking about a kicker.
Okay.
Not Khalil Mack's record, not Aaron Donald's record-breaking contract, and then Khalil Mack's record-breaking contract, and then all the other stuff. No, I get it. He was a big part of the Dallas organization for a while. He was very accurate. But, I mean, it's a kicker.
Move on cut day. I'm with you, Eric.
Yeah.
It's a little more, but either way, it's still a kicker.
Well, listen, I for one am just happy that it looks like we do have Erich Treslar tonight, not Allen Iverson, because for a second that's who I thought was going to be joining us with that. But yeah,
I mean, listen, you just got to tell it like it is. I mean, we're not. There's a lot of. I mean, there was a lot of stuff to come out this week. You know, I don't know if this is. This is the news of the day. I don't know.
The idea was to give a quick word and then move on. So you gave your quick word.
All right, well, I gave it. We're over with the kicker.
Go ahead. All
right, Davis Webb, I don't got much to say about him. We didn't get to see him very much, and you probably won't see him very much in the Jets either because he's on their practice squad. So it's another move that didn't necessarily matter. I mean, Khalil moves Mack matters, and I got 2 first-round draft picks back for Oakland. I think that's a big move for both sides. And he is a monster in the midway now. He can do some damage. Aaron Rodgers should feel a little bit more uneasy now too. Those are some big moves. I mean, and Donald was going to get his money. So, I mean, good to see him get his money. Yeah. So that's kind of how I'm feeling about the last week in football.
All right, well, let's stick on the Khalil Mack thing because here's my thing. He goes to the Chicago Bears. I kind of look at this trade as hurting both teams because, to me, if you're the Chicago
It helps both teams.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, though, because the Raiders lose their best player, arguably. At least they did the best defensive player. And the Bears, this is a move you make when you are one piece away from a championship. The Bears are a hell of a lot more than one piece away from the championship. I'm just saying.
No, this is a move you make when you have a guy on a rookie contract like they do. They have Trubisky on a rookie deal. It's a perfect time to sign a big-time defensive player. There's no better time to do it because you don't have to pay your quarterback top dollar right now. You got him for the next 4 years without having to pay him that top dollar. Plus, the Raiders get back 2 first-round draft picks, and they didn't have to spend giant money on Khalil Mack. You know, it's going to end up benefiting them who are going to probably trend to being more of a run-first, team anyway, more offense probably on the field. And, I think that John Gruden knows what he's doing. I think it was a tough decision. I think that just him and Khalil Mack didn't work out together, and they ended up making something. I think it works for both teams.
Dave, I want your opinion. My final thoughts on this. I think the Raiders were closer to getting to a Super Bowl than the Bears were with Khalil Mack. I think taking Mack away from the Raiders sends them back to the basement in a manner of speaking. And the Bears, this doesn't make them a playoff team in my eyes. This takes them from a team that might have won like 5 or 6 games to maybe 7 because you still have a number of different holes on the defensive side. And, I get your point about Trubisky and a rookie contract. I'm sorry. You look at the rest of the team. That's not a playoff caliber team, even putting Khalil Mack there. Dave, let's hear from you.
I mean, look, me personally, I think for the Raiders, they're the ones I didn't like it as much with due to the fact that more than anything else, they also sent over a second-round draft pick. Mm-hmm. So it really gave the Bears Khalil Mack a second-rounder and I think a sixth-rounder. And, get in return 2 firsts. I think it was a third and a sixth or something like that. But For the Bears, I'm with Eric. I like the move. You have the cap space. You have the rookie quarterback on his rookie deal. You give up draft picks that, look, bottom line is it's a coin flip shot that your first-round pick turns into a starter. It's that simple. It's a 50-50 split with first-round draft picks no matter where they're drafted on whether or not they're going to become a first, a caliber player that was worth a first-round draft pick. Instead, they sacrificed 2 of those first-round draft picks, get a guy who's an all-pro at 2 different positions. You get to line him up with the rookie Roquan Smith. I like the move by Chicago because they have their quarterback. And the only time I don't think you trade your first-round picks and you're a bad team is if you need a quarterback because that's the only way you're getting one. So I don't really have an issue with it because they believe Trubisky can be their guy. You add the skill and talent of Khalil Mack, which I guarantee I would bet every dollar in my bank account is better than any player they're going to draft over the next 2 drafts with the first overall pick. Now, maybe not down the line they won't be, but in the years that they're in the league with Khalil Mack, I'm going to be willing to bet every dollar I got that he's a better player than either one of them. So I have no issue with it from the Bears. From the Raiders' perspective, you got to pick and choose where you spend your money, and they knew they couldn't afford to sign him, and he was probably going to hold out until he got a contract, and they weren't going to be able to do that. So that's kind of a rock and a hard spot. You either trade away a great player or you deal with a disgruntled great player. Either way, it's not really a great win for them. I think what also hurts is when you have, your franchise quarterback literally tweeting out no way when he finds out about the trade because nobody else in the organization knew. So that I really don't like it for the Raiders when it comes down to how it was handled and, what Gruden did. But they have the oldest roster in the league. They now are going to have 4 first-round draft picks over the next 2 years. And they can get younger and Gruden can start building the team that Gruden wants to build. And that's really kind of their silver lining is that he gets to start having pieces in place to build the team he wants to build. And, you kind of go from there. But I like it for the Bears. I can't say I'm the biggest fan of it for the Raiders, but I think when it's all broken down and now that it's over and hindsight's 2020, I do think that it was the right move for both teams.
Let me ask you guys something. We're talking about Gruden. I don't think anybody bought Gruden's explanation that he's not the one running the organization and that it was an organization decision. I think we all know that's crap. But in a matter of speaking, do you think this is kind of Gruden's reputation here? Because he makes this trade, you get the draft picks back for him and everything. You get Dave, like you pointed out, he gets the chance to kind of build the team the way he wants to. But if it don't work out, I think this could be his reputation here. Because if this don't work out, all the luster and all the sheen that the great John Gruden goes right out the window. And in that 10-year contract, if you're the Raiders, you start to wonder why you gave it to him if these moves don't work out right here. And Dave, I'll go back to you.
Well, I mean, look, I think Gruden's full of shit by saying he's not the one. I mean, from what I remember, the whole part of the deal was 10-year, $100 million guaranteed, GM role, power with the GM and the whole freaking shebang. So that to me is kind of a load of crap. But, he can say whatever he wants to say because guess what? He has $100 million guaranteed to him over the next 10 years no matter what the hell happens. So, as long as he keeps himself out of legal trouble and crap like that, then he's good to go. So, all things considered, he's just, pitching the line he needs to pitch.
Let's keep going. David, every time I bring up a minor move that I think is a little noteworthy, it seems that it's not a big hit. So, any other moves you saw this past week that you would like to talk about?
I mean, I like the Teddy Bridgewater trade by the Jets and Saints. Gives the Saints the opportunity to maybe have the next guy up after Drew Brees without having to draft him. Also gives the Jets a 3rd-round draft pick for a guy that cost them, I think, $600,000, and then the Saints take that contract anyway. So, I mean, I think for the Jets, I think it was a great move. For the Saints, it gives them some reliability at backup. But I really was a fan of that one, that's for sure.
And we have Eric back, and I want his thoughts on that. I'll get your thoughts on the Gruden question. Hopefully you heard that one. But I want to respond. I like this move for the Jets, truthfully. I know a lot of people thought maybe they should have held on to them for the season. I thought if they held on to him for a month, they ran the risk of him getting injured again, and then they don't get anything. This is a great return for a guy you had on your roster for not even 5 months. I like this for the Jets. Eric, what do you say?
I didn't mind it for either team. I mean, Bridgewater, he's a solid backup, but, you know, he's not playing. And Jets got something back in return, and they're going to start Darnold like they should. So, I don't know. Kind of, all around.
Yeah. All right. What are your thoughts on the Gruden question before you left us real quick? I wanted to hear your thoughts. Do you think this is his reputation on the line with this move?
Of course it is. But, I mean, anytime a coach takes a job in a new place, his reputation's on the line. You know, especially a guy like Gruden who's been out of coaching for so long. I mean, he was always like the dream guy. Like you could never really get him because he had that cushy job at ESPN, and why would he ever leave that? You know, and I guess when you're offered $100 million, you know, that's a pretty good reason to leave it. So, I mean, I can't blame him for taking it. But yeah, of course, his coaching reputation on the line. But I think that's why he wants to start fresh. He didn't want to start with a guy like Khalil Mack, who was coming in with his own attitude off of somebody drafted by somebody else. Like he wants a fresh slate. 4 first-round picks in the next 2 years. He's going to get it. He's going to, you know, you're going to really see what Gruden could put together. It's going to be Gruden's team. And, you know, we'll see what the coach is made of. I don't know, you know, yet. We'll see. I mean, he's got to knock some rust off, I'm sure. I'm sure that, you know, he's got to update himself on some things and the way things are done nowadays. But I don't know. I don't see him lasting the whole 10 years. I'll just say that.
Well, I kind of agree with you on that one. So, all right. Before we move on to the NFC East preview, I let Dave have his. Eric, this started off because I said it seems like every time I bring up one of these minor moves that I think is noteworthy, it doesn't quite hit the way I want it to. So do you have anything you saw this weekend you think is noteworthy?
I think we kind of hit all the noteworthy ones. I mean, you could throw some more at me. We can punt them if need be. You know, maybe some will be worth talking about. The rest, we can just be like,
well, be gentle is all I will say. Be gentle, because the only one I want to bring up is the Paxton Lynch release. I think we can all agree it was deserved, even though I think we all knew when Lynch was drafted by the Broncos he was a bit of a project. Are we surprised the Broncos give up on him 2 years in? And Eric, let's go back to you on that.
I'm actually a little surprised, and I'm only going to say that because I did follow him for his last year of college when he played at Memphis. Did write a little bit about him, so I did follow him a little bit more that year. And I know the kid has some talent. And so on draft day, I didn't blame the Broncos who needed a quarterback to jump up and try and get somebody with some talent. Now, I don't know what happened once he got to Denver. I know it was around the Osweiler thing, and I don't know. It all got messy there. And I just, you know, think it was wrong place maybe, wrong time. I mean, I liked it at the time, but, I mean, I'd like to see maybe somebody else pick him up, give him a chance. But, I mean, I don't think he deserves a chance to be a starter anywhere right now. I think it was kind of a failed experiment on both sides, and, you know, it was probably time for him to leave. You know, they just, for one, I mean, they just signed, what's his name, to a 2-year deal?
Keenum.
Yeah, Keenum do a 2-year deal, though, right?
No, I think you were right. Yeah. I think you were right. I think it is a 2-year deal.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's not starting for the next couple of years anyway. You're just wasting him on the bench. Just cut him, be done with him, move on.
Dave, what do you say?
I mean, my first thought was thank God Dallas wasn't able to trade up and get him, because it was them in Denver trying to trade up to get Lynch, and Dallas wasn't able to get him, and then they were going to – I think it was Connor Cook they were going to trade up to get in the same draft, and weren't able to do that. And, you know, they stumbled across Dak Prescott, who, look, I'm still not 100% sold on, so I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, they got the best out of the bunch. To me, this is kind of Dak's make or break year on whether he's the future franchise quarterback for Dallas or not. But that was my first thought. Outside of that, I think, like Erich said, I think it might be more of a wrong place, not the right offense for him. Maybe I can sit here and give you any idea of what the reasoning would be. But that was kind of my first thought, was maybe this is more of a bad place, and maybe he gets lucky and goes somewhere else. And we all know how quickly one injury can take a guy we thought whose career was over, and all of a sudden they're a future Hall of Famer. So I am definitely just saying that I'm glad Dallas didn't get him. That's going to be my biggest reaction to it.
I totally agree with you on that. Now, I'll say this. Even though I agree with you that we don't truly know what Dak Prescott is at this point, if you look at where he is in this point in his career, and you look at what he's done in the first 2 years, and you see what Cook has done, and you see what Lynch has done, and you consider the fact that Prescott is the only one of the three who's still on an active NFL roster, I think it's safe to say he was the best of the bunch. Now, that bunch could still be crap, could still be total crap, but I think to this point, you have to say that the Cowboys did make the right move there, and they did get the best of those three. Hopefully, we still got more to see out of Dak Prescott. All right, let's move on to the NFC East Preview.
Hey, Mike, really quick, I just wanted to make sure that I got this in there, because last week I dropped the Alabama question on Erich way too late in the show for him to maybe get a chance to say what he really wanted to say. So I kind of have a two-part question.
I think I know where you're going, so go right ahead, man.
Yeah, I mean, Erich, I'm pretty sure you know where I'm going to. So, first and foremost, thoughts on how Saban handled the post-game interview. Plus, I want to make sure that everybody is aware, because some people are not putting this in their stories when they bring it up. He actually called the reporter the next morning and apologized to her. So, if people out there listening or anybody on the show is not aware of that, I just wanted to make sure that was clear, because I thought he was an asshole the way he handled it, but I thought it took a real grown man, not, somebody where I kind of thought Saban was always one of those guys that just thought he sat on his high horse. It takes a real man, a real grown man, to call somebody else and apologize to them, acknowledging the fact that they were just doing their job. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But first question for you, Erich. Thoughts on how he handled it? Did you think it was a little much, or, when it's really all said and done, he's just sick and tired of being asked that question?
If I may, Erich, and I apologize, very quickly, can we just get a rundown of the whole situation, kind of a brief summary of what happened?
God, Erich, just mix it all in.
Yeah.
Well, pretty much he got asked a question about the quarterbacks after the game. He got pissed off. Pretty much, I don't know his exact phrasing to the reporter offhand, but wasn't very nice to her. We'll put it that way. A lot of people took it as rude and unkind, and he heard about it. He heard about it from everybody. I mean, from Stephen A. Smith to Paul Feinbaum to whoever else, they all talked about it. I agree with Dave. I think it's a classy move to call the reporter, apologize. But I'm going to say it once, I'm going to say it 1,000 times. He is like a Bill Belichick protege. Like he's I don't know if you know this, but they're friends.
Absolutely.
They talk, they have very similar personalities when it comes to interviews and stuff. I don't know if you've ever seen Bill Belichick give an interview. You could ask a question he doesn't like. But, it's kind of a very similar situation, and, just the way he is, and, at least he, like I said, Dave said it right. He called her, he apologized, and that's the main thing. He didn't jump on some high horse and, was like, screw her, and, I stand behind what I said, but no, he called her, he apologized. He didn't have to make a big deal and tell the media, hey, I called her and apologized. It got out there, but he didn't over-publicize it either, which shows that it might have actually, probably been genuine, and that shows, decent character,
And my second question is, what were your thoughts on opening weekend of college football? I know you're mainly a Bama guy, but I know you love college football as a whole. So, just want to see like what stuck out to you. I mean, I was watching that LSU game. That was kind of entertaining at the beginning, and then just turned into kind of an ass whomping when I flipped back to it. But like,
it's always funny because there's so much hate on SEC teams going in too. I was watching College Game Day, and like they're all doing the picks, and nobody was picking a lot of especially like Auburn game. When they all did their TV picks, not one of the people up there picked Auburn. They all took Washington. There's just a lot of SEC hate, which I noticed. But I'm an SEC guy, so I like to point that out. I do think there were some good games. I mean, Penn State almost getting beat by Appalachian State, I thought was pretty funny. They did hold on to win. I mean, some big performances out of people, but I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed a little bit of it yourself, Dave.
I just honestly, to me, like I'm like, it's opening college day. Like you got to watch some of these games. Like, I didn't get to actually
football.
Exactly, and like I didn't even get the chance to watch as much as I wanted to with some of the things that like I was dealing with over the weekend. Nothing negative, just to not have anybody worrying about me. Nothing bad. It was a good weekend, but just other things left and right that kind of came up where I didn't get to watch as much of it as I'd like to. But like. To me, it was one of those things where I was just like, I got to make sure I ask Erich what he thought of the weekend, if there's something that popped out. And I guess, were you happy with what you saw out of Alabama in their opening game? Or did you think that maybe they left some things on the field that they got to work on?
I think they got to leave Jalen Hurts on the bench. And I mean, it's sad to say that because the guy is good and he's talented and he can win a lot of games for a lot of teams. With two, it's really good, and the way he controlled that offense, especially in the first half of the game, was just unreal. And I mean, not that Hurts came in and did a bad job, because he didn't, but you could tell there was a different pace, there's a different attitude on the field, and I mean, just in game one alone, I think the decision's kind of been made already as far as that goes.
Word. Yeah, I'm going to try and remember to bring this up once a week for you, Erich, so we can get a little college football talk.
Well, other than that, just throw a couple things out there. I mean, Maryland beating Texas. Not a lot of people saw that coming. Maryland, I don't know if you guys know, but their coach and their coaching staff and their school are going through a lot of turmoil right now after they had a player die. I don't know if you saw the tribute to him before the game, which I thought was pretty cool. The first play of the game, in case you guys didn't see it, they came out to the field, but Maryland only lined up with 10 guys. They left one spot empty, so the first play of the game was a penalty. And, to honor him, and Texas declined the penalty in a classy move. And then Maryland went on to win the game and beat Texas. Texas was ranked in the top 25. I think they were like number 23. They went down. So that was pretty memorable. I don't know. Did you guys see any of that?
I heard about that. I did think that was classic. I didn't know they declined the penalty, though. That's awesome. That's great, because I know they got to throw the penalty, but I don't like that they threw the penalty. So I like that they declined that.
Well, it's class all around. It's just a classy move.
Yeah, it really was. Erich, it reminded me exactly of what happened that first game after Sean Taylor died. Redskins defense, same thing, lined up with 10 guys. But the offense couldn't even decline the penalty. They wanted to, but they literally couldn't due to the rules of the NFL. They couldn't decline the penalty because it was against the defense. But I remember that, like, even the coach was talking to the head referee of, like, we don't want that 5 yards. And the ref was like, trust me, I don't want to give them to you, basically. But I literally have to give you that 5 yards. Like, when in your life have you ever seen an offensive defense just say, no, we don't want the 5 yards in our favor? It's just classy. It's respect. Because that's the one thing I think a lot of people forget. It's team versus team and man versus man on a football field. But those guys that play in those leagues, whether it's college or NFL, those guys are family, at least to some extent. Yeah, there are guys that don't like each other, but a large majority of them are good friends. They played college together, or they played in high school together, or, they go back to their peewee football days. Like, these guys, they care about each other. And when one team loses a player, the whole league loses a player. And like you said, bottom line is it's just a classy move.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then real quick,
very quick.
Got to talk about it. It's got to be mentioned. Notre Dame, Michigan, usually a big rivalry game. It was played opening weekend. Notre Dame took Michigan down. Both ranked in the top 20. Both ranked in the top 15, actually. So, I mean, that was a great game from the weekend. Then Dave already mentioned the other one with the top 25 matchup of number 25 LSU taking down number 8 Miami. Yeah, that's kind of – and then I guess last night you had Virginia Tech take down Florida State as well, both in the top 25. So, yeah, that's kind of the wrap-up. But, yeah, it was a good opening weekend.
Notre Dame almost shellacked Michigan and then almost blew it. That was crazy. That was a great game.
Nice. All right, I hate to cut this short, but we only got about 7 minutes left, and we got to get through the NFC East preview, and we're going to do our predictions real quick. 3 games for Week 1. So, listen, I'm going to be very quick here. We know the deal with the NFC East. Philadelphia won the division last year for their first ever NFL championship. Dallas finished at 9-7, having spent most of the season dealing with the Ezekiel Elliott situation. The Giants finished at 3-13 off of their worst season in over 20 years. They're back this season. They look primed and poised to make another run at the division. And we all know Washington is going to finish in last place, so I'm not even going to say anything else about that. So real quick, let's go around the horn here. Dave, let's start with you. Very quick thoughts about the NFC East.
All right, real quick. Dallas, I have no idea what the hell they're going to be able to do with tight end or safety.
Right.
Defensively, though, I think this unit has the potential to be a top 10 defense in the league. If Gregory can stay from being suspended, David Irving can come back and not get suspended again, and they can stay, and Sean Lee can stay healthy. So a lot of big ifs. But if those happen, I do think that they could be a top 10 defense. And Jalen Smith, that kid, if he can stay healthy, is going to turn into a all-pro, Pro Bowl caliber linebacker because he is just a freak of nature. Offensively, who the hell are they throwing the ball? Wide receiver, tight end. That's big question marks on both sides. Travis Frederick, another big question. But Zeke for a full 16 games, I think you see a better Dak Prescott and a better productive offensive, production period out of Dallas. Philly, I think they're going to take a slight step back, but nothing dramatic. Carson Wentz, when does he get healthy and get back onto the field? Nick Foles can probably carry them to, if, let's say he plays 4 games, I say he could get them to a 500 record, maybe 3-1. The Giants, look, bottom line is, can the offensive line perform? To me, if they have a top half of the league offensive line, they're fighting for a playoff spot. If they have a bottom half offensive line, they're looking at another top 10 draft pick. I really just think that's all that matters on that team at this point. If their offense can score, they haven't broke 30 points as an offense in a season and a half. So do that math. Yeah. Washington, like we said, they have basically no offensive weapons outside of Jordan Reed, and he barely can ever play a full season. Defensively, they really have even Kerrigan, who's maybe their best defensive lineman, or Josh Norman, Pat Riley, the inside linebacker, is probably actually their best defensive player at this point. I think Norman's not what he used to be, nor do I think that Kerrigan's what he used to be. So, they're the bottom of the division. I don't think there's any question.
Yeah, I said last week, I'll say it again. You got 3 teams who are all capable of making a run at a Super Bowl or finishing at 7-9, and then you got the Redskins who are just there. Eric, very quickly, we got 4 minutes left. Very quick thoughts. Anything else you'd like to add?
Washington in the bottom. Eagles taking a step back. They're gonna. I'm telling you, nobody's talking about. They're gonna have a little Super Bowl hangover. Everybody's still feeling too good, feeling the high of the championship. They're going to come back down to earth this year. They're not. This year is one of those years where they're not hungry to repeat. I can tell you that. They're happy with their season last year and living off that season for right now. So I got them near the bottom too, and I really think that it's how Dallas comes back this year. I think that they underperformed last year. They're dealing with the Zeke thing. I think this year they'll have a better year, more complete year. And, I think, losing Dez, but picking up Allen Hurns, I don't know. It's kind of all a wash. I think they're going to be pretty good. I have more faith in Dak Prescott than you guys do. Again, another guy I followed through the last couple of years of his college career, and he was phenomenal as well. I think he's going to be your starter for the next bunch of years. I think you're looking at your franchise quarterback. I think the Giants have upgraded. I think Nate Soldier. I don't know why Flowers still has a job. Talk about a guy who should be cut. He's not meant for any NFL roster. Any. Nobody. And the only reason they use him is because they're still trying to justify a first-round draft pick on him, and they need to just give it up. It was a failure, epic fail. You got to stop the experiment. Outside of that, that's kind of where we're at. You want me to give you, my little whatevers?
Very quickly. Yes, very
All right,
quick.
I'm taking Washington at 6-10. I'm taking the Eagles at 7-9. I'm taking Dallas and the Giants both at 11-5.
Who wins the division?
I'm taking the Giants just because I'm a homer.
All right, I'm actually going to take the Giants too because I believe in reverse psychology. So I'm saying the Giants at 10-6.
Yeah.
I'm saying the Eagles at 9-7. I'm saying the Cowboys at 8-8. Listen, I'm not that confident, so I'm hoping the reverse psychology works. And I'm with you, the Redskins at 6-10. Dave, very quickly.
I actually am still on I think Philly's that good. I got them at 10-6. Dallas at 9-7. Giants at 8-8, and Washington at 5-11.
All right, cool. So we got a minute and a half left here. We got 3 games we wanted to pick: Atlanta and Philadelphia, Jacksonville at the Giants, and Dallas at Carolina. I'm going to give my picks very quick. You guys run through yours. Atlanta, I think, is going to lose to Philadelphia on opening night. I think Jacksonville loses to the Giants in MetLife Stadium, and I think Dallas is going to lose going into Carolina. Dave Hastings, say goodbye and give us your picks.
I'm going to take Philly with the home win. I'm going to take Jacksonville with the road win, and then I'm going to take Dallas with the road win.
All right. Thank you very much, Dave Hastings. Erich Treslar, give us your picks and say goodnight.
All right. I am going with the Falcons over the Eagles, the Giants over the Jaguars, and I am also going with the Cowboys over the Panthers.
All right. And I want to thank you.
Let's go Yankees.
Let's go Yankees, yes. Stay sweaty, my friend. Thank you to Erich Treslar and Dave Hastings for being here tonight. I am your host, Mike Aglialoro. Thank you all for listening. This is SportsZone, and we will see you all next week.